Need us to tell you this, that it is cold outside, just downright bitterly cold right now.
And you know, sometimes when that happens, our four-legged friends who are outside wind up taking off sometimes to find a warm place to stay. Well, we wanted to see if the city is seeing more neglected animals show up as strays because of the weather. So News 13's David Romero, we sent him to the city's Westside Animal Shelter with details. David, what'd you find out?
Well, luckily, Elizabeth, the answer is no, and this came directly from city officials with the Animal Welfare Department that I spoke with yesterday. Now, Jim Ludwig with the city's Animal Welfare Department looked over incoming animal data from the past couple of weeks, and he said there's absolutely no indication so far at this point that they've seen more strays come through their doors. He also compared it to data from years past during similar cold spells, and there's still nothing to indicate that the cold is causing more pets to run away.
They might not normally be a dog that would escape, but if the temperatures are cold enough that they feel like they need to seek shelter, the dog is going to do so, and then they can end up lost. You no longer have your dog, and they end up in a shelter needing a new home.
And it is very critical to make sure that you maintain those tips that we told you about earlier last half hour to keep the dogs from doing or trying to seek any warmer kind of shelter in this cold weather. Now, another animal protection tip that many do not think of course, is to keep the animal from running away in the cold is that while you're running an errand, you don't want to keep the animal inside a cold car because it's almost the same concept that we see during the summer months. You don't want to leave them in there when it's hot. Same thing, you don't want to leave them in there when it's cold. Elizabeth, back to you.
Yeah, that's something worth noting. Thank you, David. You can always call the city's 311 line to get in touch with animal welfare report any stray or lost animals that you may be aware of.
All right, as we mentioned, this just into the newsplex. It looks like the U.S. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar is going to resign in the next few months. Sources say he's going to step down in March to spend more time with his family in Colorado. Mr. Salazar, as you might have heard, the latest in a long list of people in the president's cabinet who will not be there in his second term. You can hear more about this story starting at 7 on CBS this morning. In just a few hours, the Roundhouse will be packed as legislators get to their first full day of work in Santa Fe for this year's legislative session. It all started yesterday, where everyone heard Governor Susana Martinez's State of the State address. She says she wants to make workers here better by cutting down the high school dropout rate and making sure kids can read by the time they're in third grade. The governor also says that the state is losing too many federal jobs and needs more private companies to come here to make up for it.
One way to make New Mexico more competitive is to lower the business tax rate from 7.6% to 4.9%, just as Arizona has done.
Besides that, Democrats have their own ideas to make the state stronger, including raising the minimum wage, cutting taxes for working families, and giving state workers, including state police officers there, a small raise. Well, it could be a little easier for the governor to get what she wants done in the Senate, at least, because it now has a new president. The Senate unanimously elected Mary Kay Papen president pro tem yesterday. Ms. Papen admits that, yes, she is conservative when it comes to money, but
on a lot of social issues, I'm pretty liberal there. So I think I've hit that middle of the road stride.
Speaker of the House of Representative Ken Martinez there is now the Speaker of the State House, and he'll be in charge. He takes over for Ben Lujan, who died of cancer last month.
Today, New Mexico Senator Jacob Candelaria, among others, will discuss the expansion of Medicaid. You may remember that last week the governor made the decision to use federal dollars to expand Medicaid to help more people across the state. Now, there is a meeting taking place today at 6 p.m. It's going to be at the Center for Justice, Progress and Justice on Cerrillos Road in Santa Fe.
Now, as soon as next week, an important job inside Albuquerque City Hall could see some big changes. This is with the Inspector General, who's in charge of investigating problems with city workers, and it's all after the last one quit, saying he didn't have enough power. Now, City Councilor Ray Garduno there says he doesn't want the mayor's office, or anyone for that matter, telling the Inspector General what cases to or not to investigate.
The Inspector General will be one of the folks that decides how those cases will be handled.
Despite this, the city's chief administrative officer disagrees with Councilor Garduno, saying the rules are there for a reason and the Inspector General should focus on fighting fraud, not dealing with workers who get into trouble. A woman who was sentenced to life in prison for killing her roommate in eastern Arizona could end up spending a lot less time behind bars. The Navajo Times says that Arizona's Court of Appeals has ruled that Galareka Harrison's lawyer didn't have an adequate defense for her when she was on trial for killing Mia Henderson. The court did not go as far as giving Harrison a new trial like she wanted, though.
Charges against a U.S. Marshal in Albuquerque could soon be dropped. Police say video shows Mark West drunk behind the wheel. They also say they found alcohol in the car when they pulled him over. West was hit with DWI charges, but his trial has been delayed, once by prosecutors and 4 times by his own attorneys due to some scheduling conflicts. Now, it does not make it to trial. If it doesn't make it to trial by April, the case could get thrown out.
This is the typical situation, but we have also found as well that the more continuances there are in a case, the more likely something will happen that will result in a dismissal of the case.
At least 30% of DWI cases gets dismissed because of delays. The man who drove into a frozen pond next to a restaurant in Albuquerque recently is still in jail and probably won't be getting out anytime soon. Michael Maestas can't get bond right now. Police say he violated his probation by driving drunk and crashing into this pond outside of Landry's Monday night. We did a little checking and found that Maestas is no stranger to jail. This guy has been arrested on DWI charges before.